Okay.
Okay. My name is Karen Ray. I'm the new Executive Director of the Republican Party of Arkansas. Originally from Mississippi, short stint in Little Rock, the Central Arkansas area during the Bush Cheney 04 re-election campaign, and then a quick 2.5-year stint in Washington. I worked on the inaugural committee in 2005, and then took a presidential appointment to the Labor Department, and then finished up with a year at Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is a law enforcement component of the Department of Homeland Security. I decided to come back to Little Rock to live and to be the ED of the RPA because I decided, I really thought I might take this cycle off and go back to law school, go back to school to go to law school, but decided that this was going to be one of the most important election years that I couldn't imagine being involved in a more historic election year, and this sort of a position really was something that I just couldn't turn down. So when this happened for me, just was really excited. It happened so fast, I almost can't believe I'm here, but here we are. I want to, over the next probably 4 to 6 months, really focus on recruiting candidates and focusing on some of those JP seats, quorum court seats, state rep seats, state senate seats. We need to get down to building a really strong farm team in Arkansas. So we're going to look at some targeted races in 08, see if we can make some progress in the state house and the state senate, and then see if we can't pick up some more JP seats and quorum court seats. So that's going to be a big focus of mine right off the bat. Also, we're going to work on building county committees throughout the state. I promised the National Federation of Republican Women that they would have no stronger advocate in Arkansas than me. So we'll work on building our Republican Women Clubs, Young Republicans, College Republicans. Those are going to be some serious focuses of mine over the next coming probably 6 to 8 months, moving into 2008.
Yeah.
Once we get into 2008, we will probably bring in a staff for the presidential cycle, and then we'll start doing some of that really strong grassroots campaign work that we saw in 2004 and in 2006 coming out of the party. That's going to be some of our main work over my term as ED.
One of the things I've noticed is that when you talk to people, their values very closely resemble the Republican Party, but they still vote Democratic. How are we going to get them to recognize that they are truly Republicans?
Gosh, that's a really good question, and that's a hard question because some of those people consider themselves Democrats because their grandfather was a Democrat and their mother was a Democrat, and they just feel like, oh, I remember people telling me in 04, my grandfather would roll over in his grave if I voted Republican this year. So there's a really serious background situation that we're going to have to come to terms with. But look at the states around the South that have done it. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, those are solid red states, and they dealt with the same problems and situations that Arkansas sees. I don't think it's impossible. I think we just have to get the message out there better. We've got to make better use of our media resources. We're going to try some different techniques to get better into those weekly papers and monthly papers and start really trying to get the message of what the Republican Party is back out there. And I feel like once people take the time to look and see, and maybe see really what it is that we're believing in, then maybe we'll see a little bit of that shift, but it's not going to happen overnight.
One of the things that I've noticed is that the mainstream media in Arkansas is Democratic, and so Republicans don't really have an opportunity to get their message through on the mainstream media. So do you have any ideas of how we're going to do it without the help of that mainstream media?
That's a problem, not just in the state of Arkansas, but all across the country, that we see a lot of the different serious media outlets leaning more towards the Democratic side, the liberal side of things. So we take a look at things like blogs. We take a look at things like talk radio is a very good avenue for conservatives. Fox News and some of the other media outlets have at least tried to be a little bit more fair. And we do have some people that work in the media in Arkansas who have a more conservative outlook maybe than you would think. I had an interview yesterday with a girl who said one of her best friends was the ED in South Carolina. So that was a good thing for me to hear coming out of someone who was coming to the office to interview me. So it's a problem, but we do have some ways to combat that.
One of the things I've been starting to hear from the Republican Party is the phrase unity. What are we trying to do with that?
Well, everybody knows 2006 was a year that divided a lot of people here in the state. So it's important for us to remember that to move forward, not only here in the state of Arkansas, but to try to keep the presidency in the Republican Party, we will need to sort of forget about the things that have happened, come back together, realize that we're all fighting for the same things, and really try to bring, that's going to be a major focus of mine, is to try to bring some of these factions that maybe had falling out or whatever. Nobody's perfect, but Ronald Reagan always said, if somebody's with you 80% of the time, they're not your enemy, they're your friend. And people, the Republican Party is a party of inclusion. And so we have people from one side of the spectrum to the other. And I feel like if we can just remember that we're all playing on the same team, we're all fighting for the same things, then maybe we'll have a little bit of a shift back towards each other.
Right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.